What's up, guys? Today we're going to be checking out a movie that, after I rewatched it, might be my new favorite in the series, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This isn't a review on how entertaining the movie is. I'll just be sharing some of my thoughts on the video and the audio quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot on film. It's got a 4K DI. Runtime is 122 minutes. It's rated PG-13, and the aspect ratio is 239:1, so there are black letterbox bars. So far, the first 3 movies in the collection have some pretty knockout transfers for both video and audio. Crystal Skull continues the trend and has what I think is the best Dolby Atmos mix of the bunch. If you've seen the other reviews, you're probably aware that the audio mixes have all been basically static without any dynamically moving objects panning through the speakers. The Atmos mix in this is the same way. The biggest difference is everything sounds more robust and dynamic overall. Makes sense since this was made not too long ago. Atmos height effects are active throughout, with good ambiance with the occasional attention-grabbing sound effect. There's the plane flyover at the airport, and the cemetery scene now sounds more realistic with sound crackling above your head. I do believe that this is the darkest scene in the movie, so you'd expect the HDR to enhance the black levels, which it does somewhat. The blacks did appear a little deeper, but I also found them to be kind of muddy as well. Not just in the cemetery scene, but all throughout. The black levels in the first 3 movies were great and really added some depth to the image, whereas I thought the blacks in this movie was flatter in comparison. Maybe that's the intended look, but it sure doesn't match the others in the series. I also felt the color palette in this was a lot warmer than the previous 3. Those ones were more natural, while Crystal Skull has an orangey sepia tone over the entire thing. It's a bit toned down from the older Blu-ray, but it's still warm overall. The HDR does brighten up the image over the older Blu-ray, and there's some decent specular highlights as well. There's more gradations in the bright areas, such as things like flames, so you'll see more yellows and reds and oranges. And those white highlighted areas, like reflections, are cleaner and brighter and do have more pop. The jet engine is not only a great example for HDR, but it's got some hefty sounding low-end response. I felt as you work your way up through each of the movies in the series, the bass response gets better, and Crystal Skull definitely has the most robust subwoofer usage out of the series. The bomb going off at the beginning of the movie is a standout moment, and the waterfalls also reach pretty low. Detail-wise, I thought there was a substantial increase with the previous movies. This one for sure has a bump for extra resolution, but I didn't think it was as big as the other 3. Close-up shots did reveal more detail from the 1080p version, though it wasn't as sharp and crisp as you might expect if you just got done watching the others. I mean, you can see things like pores and wrinkles, but it was soft. And speaking of soft, all the CG effects were noticeably softer than the rest of the movie. You've got Indy coming out of the fridge, the aliens, the jungle destroying machine, and Shia swinging with the monkeys, which were all digitally soft. That's likely because the effects were done at 2K. Another thing that wasn't as pronounced or as good as the others was the film grain. I suppose if you're a grain hater, then this could very well be the one that you'd like the most, but the grain was very, very light. There are a few quick shots where the grain is very apparent, but just not as much as I was expecting. I suppose if there was some noise reduction being applied, that could be the reason for the low amount of grain. But to be honest, myself and the other guys that watched it thought this wasn't that much different from a really good 1080p transfer.
You're embarrassing us.
Now, if you're new to the channel and you're into movies and audio and video gear, consider tapping the subscribe button for new weekly videos. Well, as I mentioned before, I felt that the audio was the best of the bunch and had the most detailed soundstage. John Williams' score is probably the best thing about this transfer, and the dialogue was always easy to hear. So for audio, I'd have to go with an 8.7. The high channels are active with a nice ambiance and musical extension, and provides for a really good immersive experience. Bass response digs low during the action scenes, and I found it to be the best sounding of all 4 of the movies. For video, unlike the audio, I thought it was the worst of all 4 of the movies. There was a lack of film grain, and I felt that the black levels were lacking as well. Detail was soft for the most part, and the digital effects were even softer. I know I'm kind of making it sound like this was a horrible transfer, but coming from just watching the first 3 movies, this was kind of a letdown for picture quality. It's still an upgrade in all respects over the 1080p version, it just wasn't a night and day difference. So for video, I'm gonna have to go with a 7.6. Well, those are my thoughts on the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on 4K. Would you guys have given it a higher rating, and if so, what is your number? Leave a comment down below and let us know. Now, if you want to grab this collection, I'll leave some links for it down below in the video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again in the next video.